This boy hasn't bathed in 19 years. It's not that he doesn't want to bathe. It's that he's been treated like an animal by his parents since he was a child. He was imprisoned in the attic because he had the ability to read people's minds since he was a child. That's why all the villagers thought he was a monster. But this is just an excuse for those people, an excuse to hide their secrets. He spent countless days and nights in loneliness, until the day he met a severely injured black cat. Then he had a companion he could share his heart with. Before he knew it, more than 10 years had passed. That day, my brother, Tadamir, suddenly kicked down my door. He accused me of forgetting this special day. He was disgusted by my disheveled appearance. He lifted the quilt that was wrapped around me. Then he knocked me to the ground. "Wash your clothes, you bastard." I slowly stood up after being knocked to the ground. Then I remembered that today was the day of the bar mitzvah. It's the biggest event in the village. All children who had just turned 19 had to attend, so I staggered down to the attic. Although I live in the same house with my family, we hadn't seen each other for 10 years. But I didn't expect to be taunted by my sister as soon as I got downstairs. She said my presence made him lose his appetite for food. When my father saw me, he added fuel to the fire. Then my sister pushed me away. Before she left, she told me I was told to go to the bar mitzvah only if I was clean, so that I wouldn't be a disgrace to my family. But it's winter and it's 20 degrees below zero. Where could I go to get clean? That's when I noticed the well outside the house. I had no choice. But to grab a bucket of cold water and pour it over my body. My skin instantly turned red from the bone-chilling cold. Just as I was trembling, I heard the familiar sound of a cat's cry. But I just looked up and prepared to look. A valuable robe hit me in the face, and the one who threw it. It was the black cat Hobby that I saved when I was a child. My eyes fell on the robe. I quickly asked Hobby where he got it from. When Hobby heard that, he immediately jumped to my feet and rubbed his head against my leg. Instantly, what happened to Hobby appeared in my mind. After saving a little girl who was about to be hit by a carriage, he pestered the girl's mother for a present, though asking for things is a bad thing. But it was a great job of saving someone's life. After I put on this robe, I was instantly refreshed. After thanking the hobbit, I was ready to go to the bar mitzvah, and then I ran into someone I knew. I greeted the girl, Bella. The girl froze for a moment, and I sensed what Bella was thinking. She had forgotten about me. The young girl looked back and blushed, as if she remembered something. This voice. "Are you Ricardo's brother?" I identified myself as such. When I found out that I was also going to the bar mitzvah, she invited me to go with her on the other side of the church. The bar mitzvah was about to begin. The mayor of the village noticed that I hadn't come yet. But when my family heard my name, their faces sank. Then they told the mayor, "Bastards don't deserve to come to such an event." Everyone around us agreed with this decision. The village chief took one look at everyone's reaction. He was about to announce the start of the event. At that moment, a yellow-haired man stood up. The village chief, Bella, hadn't come yet. But this time, their reaction was completely different. They decided to wait for Bella to arrive before starting the event. A few moments later, Bella and I arrived at the church. When Yellow Hair saw the scene, he immediately pounced on us like a licking dog. He asked Bella if there was an accident on the way. Bella looked at Yellow Hair with a calm face. Her shoelace broke on the way out this morning. Luckily, I ran into Brother Ricardo and was able to get there in time. When Yellow Hair heard my name, his face turned black. Then he realized I was beside Bella. Yellow Hair was in disbelief, because I was a different person from before. Bella suddenly grabbed my arm and turned into the church. Instantly, a memory of Bella flooded my mind. I saw the scene when he was abandoned by his mother. I saw the love between him and his uncle across the ages. I saw over 500 men who had been in love with him. I saw a completely different Bella than I remembered. I froze. Bella also saw me sweating profusely. She reached out to wipe me off, and I pushed Bella away because I didn't know how to face him. After all, I couldn't pretend I didn't see anything. But out of politeness, I apologized to him on the pretext of not feeling well. When Yellow Hair saw me with Bella, he turned into a lemonade. At the same time, he was curious. How could I suddenly come here wearing a new dress? So he came up to me and asked me where I got it from. All I could say was that it was a gift from a friend, but Yellow Hair didn't believe me. "You're a man who hasn't been in the attic for more than 10 years. How can you have a friend? You didn't go to the city and steal it just to look cool today, did you?" Yellow Hair's voice was very loud. He drew everyone's attention to him. But before I could explain, they all started talking about me as if I were a thief. Even Bella, who was looking at me with a smile on her face. She looked at me with a smile on her face. Someone even threw a bottle of red wine at me. As the bottle broke, the wine spilled on my body. Even the kids said I was a monster when they saw me like this. I wiped the wine from my head. I looked at my family with anticipation, but they all turned away from me. My last hope for my family was shattered. Back home, I huddled alone in the corner of the attic. My grief made me laugh out loud. It seemed there was no place for me in this house. So I packed up all my belongings and chose to leave. No matter where I went, I just wanted to live as an ordinary person. I walked aimlessly in the snow. I didn't know where I would end up. Then a carriage stopped in front of me. The kind owner decided to give me a ride. And so I left my home on the night of my bar mitzvah. The next morning, as soon as I opened my eyes, an orange-haired knight appeared in front of me. His name was Lena. He was the escort for the carriage. He asked me curiously why I was traveling alone into the city. But he asked a question I hadn't thought about. After all, I didn't have any goals, and I had no power. I could only answer that I was going to the city to find some work. This caught Lena's attention. She asked me what I was good at. I can tell what animals are thinking, so I must be good at taming animals. Lena laughed at that. Obviously, she didn't think I could read minds. I watched Lena's reaction. It seems that there aren't many people in the city who have my ability. After all, this ability to easily read other people's memories and thoughts. It's been torturing me for 19 years. Even if I don't want to hear it, I can still hear it. While I was thinking, the carriage suddenly shook violently. Lena thought the Chamber of Commerce was being attacked. She jumped out of the carriage, but it was a false alarm. It turned out that the two French-running horses had suddenly stopped. But after a long rest, the two horses still had no intention of moving forward. This gave Lena a big headache. Suddenly, Lena thought of something. She ran over and grabbed me. She dragged me over to check on the horses. The owner of the caravan was whipping the horses. He was trying to keep them on the road. I came up to the boss. Can I check the horse's condition? He had no choice but to let me try. I stroked the horse's head and activated my power. A horrible scene appeared in my mind. I woke up in a flash. I pointed to the forest in front of me. There was a group of monsters covered with white hair. They were dangerous. If they attack us, we will lose a lot of money. So the horses stopped to warn us. Obviously, the merchant owner thought I was talking nonsense and ignored me. He was still determined to go on his way and had all the guards and knights armed to go first. I didn't want to get involved in that, so I decided to leave the caravan, but Lena forced me to stay because she wanted to know if my mind-reading skill was real or not. So we headed deeper into the forest. Along the way, we didn't find anything unusual. Suddenly, I felt a murderous intent coming from behind. I turned my head and looked. A monster with white hair and fangs appeared. This huge white-haired monster in front of me froze me in my tracks. Without physical contact, I could feel its killing intent. This means that the white-haired monster is extremely hostile to us. I quickly told Lena to evacuate the area because this white-haired monster in front of us is not something we can easily fight against. But Lena didn't take my words seriously. She was determined to destroy this white-haired monster once and for all. The other knights followed Lena's lead. They were ready to fight. The white-haired monster suddenly roared to the sky. Then a huge pressure came towards us. The pressure caused me to lose my ability to move. At the same time, Lena drew her iron sword and rushed towards the white-haired monster. She slashed at the white-haired monster. The rest of the knights also attacked. They wanted to suppress the white-haired monster, but they never expected. These attacks had no effect on the white-haired monster. Instead, he struck the bald man with a flick of his hand. The bald man was shot backwards like a shooting star. He fell to the ground heavily. Then the white-haired monster's huge palm slapped at him. I quickly ran over to him. In front of the bald man, I tried to calm the white-haired monster down with my power. In an instant, the white-haired monster's emotions stabilized. Just as I tried to touch him with my hand, when I tried to communicate with him further, Lena suddenly appeared behind the white-haired monster, and she struck him with a cross slash, facing an unguarded attack. The white-haired monster let out a terrible scream. Then the knights attacked him again, outnumbered and outnumbered. The white-haired monster turned around and fled deeper into the forest. The knights chased after him, and I sat on the ground with a thud. I couldn't understand why they were trying to kill us all. The white-haired monster had stopped attacking, but I almost lost my life because of it. But just now, for a moment, I felt the white-haired monster's goodness buried in his heart. I made up my mind to talk to him with the memory I read from the white-haired monster's mind. I found the cave where he lived, but as soon as I reached the entrance, a pungent smell of blood hit my nose. I forced myself to walk into the cave with my fear. I saw the white-haired monster crouching in the corner, crying. Suddenly, a feeling of sadness came over me. It seems that this is the memory of Harry, the white-haired monster. He was a gentle white-haired ape. He was a gentle white-haired silver ape, the most loyal companion of mankind. They often came to the aid of those who were lost in the woods. Harry's father once came across a woman who had fainted in the snow. He took her back to his cave, and in the meantime, he took care of her. Eventually, the woman and Harry's father fell in love. Harry was born a year later. The family lived happily ever after, until one day, greedy humans arrived with weapons. They slaughtered all the white-haired apes, even his human mother. Harry saw it with his own eyes, and ever since, he vowed to kill them all, to avenge his loved ones. I snapped out of that painful memory. I couldn't stop myself from calling out Harry's name. When Harry heard the voice, he looked back hopefully. But when he saw me, there was a look of disappointment on his face, because Harry was a name that only his mother had ever called him. Then, with a disappointed look, Harry asked me if I had come to kill him. No, he didn't. I just felt I had to come and apologize to you. I was the one who hurt you when I used my powers to interfere with your emotions. When Harry heard my apology, he said, I can sense that you're not like the people who killed my family, though I don't understand why they did what they did to us. I was silent for a moment after hearing his words. It's all about money, because in the human world, money can do whatever they want. And then Harry couldn't wait to ask me. If he had money, he'd be able to see his family. I couldn't bear it. I had to tell him the truth. Harry listened to me and cried. A few moments later, he wiped away his tears. I was so angry, but when I met you, I suddenly felt like everything was okay. I'm sorry. I used my powers to manipulate your emotions. I don't care anymore. My mother was just like you. She liked to tell people she was sorry. Let's leave it at that. I accept your apology. With that, Harry went into the cave to rest. I turned around and left the cave. Suddenly, a sack flew out of the sky towards me. It turned out to be the elusive harpy. He had brought my bag out of the caravan, but as soon as he handed it to me, he turned and left. He told me to stay out of Harry's business. Otherwise, my human body would have frozen to death in the blizzard. But I didn't want to leave Harry. He was badly hurt. If anyone found out, he'd die eventually. I made my way to Harry's cave. I put on a robe and fell into a deep sleep on Harry's back. But what I didn't realize was, a huge black shadow was slowly approaching me. Then a giant black tiger appeared in front of me. He shielded me from the cold wind with his body and chased away the beasts that tried to eat me. He didn't sleep until he was sure I was safe. He was originally a test subject for human research, but he was too wild to be domesticated. So he was shot as a failed experiment. He escaped with serious injuries in a life-and-death situation. Along the way, his body leaked like a balloon until he turned into a black cat before collapsing in the snow just as he was about to die. I was able to read his mind and heard his cry for help. I followed the direction of the voice. I finally saw the black cat with a broken leg in the snow. I took him home. I named him Hobby. Since then, Hobby has been watching over me in secret. The next morning, Hobby woke up with a start when he had no intention of falling asleep. He was relieved to see that I was fine. I thanked him for his help. Thanks to you, I was able to sleep well without being disturbed by the cold. Hobby turned into a black kitten. Harry the snow monster looked on with curiosity, but Hobby didn't think much of him. He urged me to leave this place as soon as possible. I realized that the wound on Harry's back had already healed, and no one has come after him for so long. It seemed that he was in a safe place, so I stroked his head and said goodbye. But Harry called out my name. It startled the harpy. After all, even a beast as advanced as him doesn't have the ability to speak. Harry asked me to take him with me. After a moment's silence, I replied, I don't really mind. But if you come with me, you could be in danger, and I don't have the power to protect you. Harry bowed his head at my words. There was no one else here. Harry doesn't want to be alone, and I'm very strong. I can protect you. Those words touched my heart. I've known loneliness since I was a child. I looked at Harry with a longing look on his face. I finally agreed to take him with me to the city, and then I turned to the harpy and asked him if he would come with us to the city. But he didn't answer and left without me. Soon Harry and I were in the city. But before we could find a place to stay, we were stopped by the city guards. They told me I had to be on a leash with a large pet, but he saw that I looked like it was my first time in town. So he kindly gave me a leash and told me to keep Harry on a leash until I left. I was caught between a rock and a hard place. Seeing my dilemma, Harry offered to put on the shackles. He reassured me that he could take them off whenever he wanted to. In the end, I had to lock the shackles around his neck. The guards retreated. I'm sorry, you'll have to suffer for a while. You're just like mom. You're just like mom. At first I asked her why she kept saying it, but after hearing it for a while, I realized what mom meant by sorry was that she loved me. Looking at Harry in front of me, who was in a state of happiness, I felt a sense of relief in my heart. In order to live in the city, I took Harry with me to look for a job, but I couldn't find anything. I was even told I had to bring a monkey with me, until a kind boss told me, if you really want to find a job, I'd go to the labor union in the middle of the village. After thanking the boss, I took Harry to the center of the village, and suddenly a very special trade union appeared. But as soon as I entered, I was shocked by what I saw. A young lady with big waves suddenly rushed to me. She asked me if I wanted to rent a room or a bell. I was at a loss as to what to do and stepped back. Then I told her I was here for an interview. After hearing that, my face turned dark. With a disappointed look on her face, she told me to go upstairs and fill out my resume. When I got to the second floor, an older man came out to greet me. I told him what I wanted. He took me to a room to register. Then he asked me what my specialties were. I told him the truth. I have the ability to read the minds of animals. But as soon as he heard what I said, his hand suddenly stopped writing. Then his attitude towards me changed 180 degrees. If I had known you had psychic abilities, I wouldn't have interviewed you. There are all kinds of psychics in this world. There are mages who can manipulate various elements. There are also warlocks who can heal wounds. But the ability to read people's minds has never been heard of since ancient times. In the face of such a rare ability, that old man was ready to place a bet on me. He immediately gave me my first mission. He told me to go to the 13th district to find an animal trader. With my powers, I would be able to accomplish the task perfectly. I accepted the mission and took Harry to the destination. But what I didn't expect, I met two dogs that ate people. Their owner was a street leader, so they did what they wanted to do. But now they were scared to death by Harry the snow monster. I was able to read their minds and calm them down. We're not gonna hurt you. Don't worry. After hearing this, the dogs were instantly energized. I'm here to see your master at work. But at that moment, a coughing sound interrupted my conversation with the dog. A bald man walked towards me. After confirming my identity, he led me into the house. Those two evil dogs didn't attack you. I guess your mind-reading skill is real. Then he led me to a glass enclosure. A dying frog appeared in front of me. The bald man told me that he paid $100 million for this frog. He hadn't slept for 10 days and 10 nights to take care of him. So I reached out and touched the frog. Suddenly, I was struck by lightning. I lost consciousness. Then a flood of memories of the frog came into my mind. My heart was burning like a flame. The bald man asked me if I was having a heart attack. It wasn't my physical pain, it was the frog's. His heart was slowly melting. The bald man looked incredulous. He thought I was crazy, and I could only patiently explain to him. He is a race of people who live in the cold waters. But now you put him on dry sand. He can't breathe in this environment. The bald man jumped up and down. This frog is a desert creature. What nonsense are you talking about, you liar? But my determined look made him feel less and less confident. He recalled that he had overly loved the frogs. So he spent $1 billion to create a desert-like environment for him. From that day on, he became more and more strange. The bald man sighed. Then he grabbed a shovel and threw it at me. Don't you have any sense at all? Hurry up and shovel the snow. Then he carefully picked up the frog. He put it in a pool of ice water. After seeing the frog start to spit bubbles, the bald man showed his anti-smile. And I went outside to shovel snow in the snow. I went outside to shovel the snow.